Okay. So we'll get started. Make sure that the recording's going. It is. Perfect. Okay, so thanks for joining. The intent tonight is mostly to give a live demo of Flight Circle as we move to this for our reservation system. And we've been using aircraft clubs for the past 4 years, and just time for a change to do something to help the club manage our affairs a little better. So things I want to cover. I'm going to give you an overview of why we moved to Flight Circle, then start showing you the actual features in Flight Circle. So how you change things in your account, a look at the dashboard, reporting functions, and the most important thing, scheduling with the new dispatch and check-in process that you're going to have to use. And then finally, a little bit on bill payment. So just a quick overview of why we're going to Flight Circle. So basically, Flight Circle is going to help us manage the club, right? It's more than just a program or a website to schedule the planes. So it helps us integrate scheduling of the planes, managing currency of our members, um, maintenance reporting, so we can keep track of the maintenance items that are happening on the plane, reporting functions, mainly on the administrative side, but there are some reporting functions that are available to the members as well. And then finally billing, right? So as you fly, charges are added to your account and you can go online and pay them if you choose. So the cool thing is we can do all this and it actually costs less than the system we're using today. So that's kind of a minor benefit of it all. None of the costs are significant compared to the amount of money we're going through on a monthly basis for things, but still any money saved is good for us. The biggest thing is it's just going to reduce workload for those of us that are managing the day-to-day operations of the club, right? We all have other jobs that need our attention, and we're spending a lot of time these days keeping track of where we're at on maintenance, um, pushing paper back and forth in terms of our members current, and then adding up all the charges for the month and sending bills out. So it's going to help us manage some of that process and take some workload off those of us that are doing that. So with that, I will move into Flight Circle. So to get in Flight Circle, if you haven't been in, go to flightcircle.com. Very easy. You should have an email in your inbox if you haven't been to it yet in order to sign up for your account. But hopefully everybody's been able to sign in. So the account I'm using today is a temporary account I set up that removes all the admin features. So it should be a similar view that as everybody is seeing on their end. So first off, you open the screen, and it defaults to a schedule view, something you can tune. But first thing I want to show you is how to change things in your account. So upper right hand corner, this is called temporary account. So you see the temp name. But if you click on that arrow, go to my account, you'll come into the things you can change in your account. So first thing that comes up is an account ledger. This account has no flights, no charges on it. If by the time we're done here tonight, you will see the charges show up. I'm going to take you through that whole process. But if you've had things, if you've been flying, you've had membership dues and things come up, those will show up. So the next part of setting up your account is going into your pilot profile. So this is where you can see if you're checked out of an aircraft, right? And you will know if you've been checked out, but we need to make sure that our secretary goes in and documents that appropriately, and that will make sure that you have the ability to make reservations on the planes. So something you can check on. The next thing is items for currency. So making sure your medical's current, making sure your flight review's current. You can update those types, those dates as appropriate, and give us the latest information. So those two items are very helpful. Certificate information, you can select student pilot or pilot, whether you're a student, private pilot, you can put that in there. You can put in those details that you find on the back of your license. If you're a student pilot, you may not have a medical yet. You certainly don't have a flight review yet, so you can leave that blank. And when you add instructors to your reservation, then it will see that, and you won't need to have that information. So that's an overview of pilot information. You can upload files. For us, we like to make sure everybody's legal to fly. So things that we would upload would be a copy of your pilot certificate, a copy of your medical exam, a copy of your flight review endorsement out of your logbook if you have one. Those types of things that are the documents to prove that you are legal to fly the plane. The next few tabs are related to electronic payments. Through Flight Circle, if you choose, you can pay your bill or pay for your flights. You can either do that via credit card or through a bank account using ACH. If you choose to use a credit card, there is a 3% additional surcharge that is added to your bill. It's basically covering the costs that we incur from processing credit cards. If you choose to use ACH, there is no additional charge to you as a member to do that. So certainly not required to pay electronically. If you prefer to write us a check every month and send it in or place it in the hangar, that's perfectly acceptable as well. But this is here available if you choose to use it. If you need to add an account, you simply hit the add button, type in the information and save it, and you should be good to go. Another feature is you can set up auto pay. So if you just say you want your bill to get paid on a certain day every month, you can come in here and you can add that auto payment. And you can pay the full balance. You can pay a fixed amount. Completely up to you if you want to use any of those features or not. So again, these are the basic settings in my account that you can use. We'll go through these items here on the left for you. The first one is user account. So this is just email and password used to get into Flight Circle. Very basic stuff. Sure, nobody's had an issue there. Personal information. So you certainly need you to add your name, phone number, email address is good. This information, when we get to the next section, you can select to share that with the club, and that information will populate the member directory. So if one of the members wants to reach out to you to maybe share a flight or has an issue that they need to talk to you about, maybe they couldn't get fuel in the plane on their last flight, that kind of thing. That way they can reach out to you and get a hold of you. So that's the information that would get shared with the club if you pick that setting. I will tell people if any information that they're not comfortable storing in the system, leave it out, right? We'll work around it. Like birthday, right? I certainly understand there could be some sensitivity to birthday and with relation to this other information. We don't need that. The system doesn't need that. We know what your birth date is based on your member application. So if you choose not to put some of that more private information, simply leave it out. The next tab is My Associations. So if I don't know if we have anybody in this position, but if you're renting planes from another business that also uses Flight Circle, you can use one account to manage both entities. So I only have Bakalar Flying Club set in here, but if I do click on Bakalar Flying Club, I get some additional options. So number one, make this my primary organization. It's my only organization, but if I had multiple, I can make this my primary. Share my personal information with this organization. So this will make your name, phone number, and email address show up on the member directory for the club to see. So if you want to do that, you can do that. Share your payment methods. So if you want the club to see your payments, you can see that. Your pilot information, right? We ask you to do that. That way, if you update your medical or flight review information, that will get synced with the system on our side. And then share your name with other users. So that's simply in the schedule view. If you had the plane reserved, it'll say it's reserved to Bob or it's reserved to Danny or Jaden, right? Otherwise, it'll just be it's reserved and nobody will know who it's to. And then finally, subscribe to messages. Through this system, it is useful for sending notes out to the club for something. So we ask that you subscribe to those so you can get relevant information as we send it out. Next, schedule settings. So these are settings that you can use to tune the look and feel of the site. So, if you prefer a 12-hour clock instead of a 24-hour clock, if you want a default view to be a certain view, you can pick that. whether that's on the computer or mobile. You can set this up to sync to your personal calendar. Haven't been through that process, but it does have that capability. That way, if you make a reservation, it'll show up on your phone or whatever system you use to manage your calendar. Again, just things you can customize to how you want it to look. Notifications. So this kind of sets up getting notifications about your reservations. You can do email and you can do SMS. If you want to do SMS, you can click on the link here and it will give you instructions as to how to type in that address to send you a text message. So for me, I use Verizon. It's just my phone number at vtext.com, and then the system can send me messages about my reservations. So I have it. So within when it becomes 24 hours before a reservation, it will send me an email and also send me a text message. So again, you can set that up how you see fit for you. Social profile, again, if you're interested in putting any of this in here, you can, but we certainly don't need this information. This will just put it on the member directory, I believe, if people want to go view your Facebook page or that kind of thing. So again, completely up to you if you want to fill in any of that information. Any questions on the account side?
Nope.
Okay. As we were looking at this earlier today, somebody pointed out the weather information here in the lower right-hand corner. So you can actually click on that, and it will take you to this website where you can look at radar, forecast, the current weather, those kind of things. So a useful feature that I didn't know was there, but is kind of a nice thing to have at your fingertips if you need it. So just wanted to make sure you see that. Okay, next thing I want to show you is the dashboard. So here in the top
Brett, I
left,
just want to ask you something.
Yeah, go ahead, Bob.
Is this on Eastern Standard Time? Does it track the daylight saving time and all that? Or do we have to set that somewhere?
It's good question. I do not know, honestly. Let me ask Flight Circle and get back with you, Bob. Let me make a note.
Okay. Because I'm not sure about, maybe I had the wrong settings on the other scheduling system. I think it was an hour off for me for some reason.
Okay.
It was like Central Standard Time.
Okay. Yeah, I honestly am not sure. I need to look. That might be something in the admin side we can set, but I'll have to get back with you on that.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to dashboard. So the dashboard, we can modify this dashboard to share information, like we may share information about an upcoming club meeting, anything going on that we want people to know about. We can load up here on the dashboard. Don't have anything out there yet, but intend to get some things out there in the future. One thing I wanted to point out, we do have files starting to go here on the site. So the intent is to replace most of the functions on flybak.org with what we're doing here in Flight Circle. So we have one spot to go for all the relevant information. But say you want to see a copy of the POH for Cessna 172, you can click on November 78548, and you can see all the files associated with that plane. So they're there for you to download and view, like we had on the document section of FlyBAK in the past. So if there's things that you think would be useful to add out here, please let me know. We can get them added. I'm sure it will grow over time, but these are the things that I've had time to get in so far. So again, we have similar files for the 182 and then general club info. We don't have a lot out there yet, but we have been slowly populating things like the bylaws and operating rules. We have a copy of those, a copy of the material sent out with this invitation on the Flight Circle scheduling process. So we'll continue to add things out here. The final thing in the dashboard is the member directory. So here you can see a list of club members that have elected to let their information be shared. So if you, here you can just see name, phone number, and when they last flew and when their next scheduled flight is. If you click on their name, you get some more information, email, phone number, so you can get a hold of people if you need to. So next thing I'll show you quickly is the reports. You have a couple of reports available to you as members. Number one is maintenance reminders. So you can click there and quickly see the status of maintenance on each plane. If you just want to see one plane, you can simply type in the tail number, and it will filter everything um, for the plane that you typed in. So a good way to quickly check that, make sure that all the maintenance events are up to snuff before you fly. Similarly, you can look at squawks, and you can see what's open on the plane before you go fly, so you're aware of any issues with the plane. Okay, so now we're going to get into the schedule side. I'll click on the schedule tab. So first thing in the schedule, you have many different views you can pick to view the schedule. This is one I found handy, but it is only a view for one day at a time. You have this is called the split horizontal view, but you can see both planes, and you can see all the flight instructors, and you can quickly see if the flights are if the instructors are available and the planes are open for you to use. Other views, you have a day view, so you can see things happening just for today in this view. You have a week view, gets a little messier, but you can see reservations for planes this way. And then you have a month view, right, which is showing reservations every day, very similar to what we had in aircraft clubs in the past. So again, you can use those views how you see fit. Whatever you want to do there is perfectly fine. So the next thing I want to do is actually going through making a reservation, so you can see how that works. We're going to pick 78548. I made a hole in the maintenance reservation so we could do this demo tonight, and we'll get a reservation set up here. So to get a reservation on the calendar, I simply need to go into where I want the reservation to be. Click here on the screen, and a window pops up with the reservation details. So say I want this reservation to start at 7:30. I know it's a bit in the past, but that's okay. I want it to go, it defaults to 2 hours, so I want it to go to 9:30. You can pick the plane you want to fly, so I'm going to pick 548 for now. You can select an instructor. If you're going to have an instructor on that flight, you should pick them. My recommendation is always, before you just go put time on one of the instructor schedules, you have a conversation with them and make sure that's okay. A couple of the instructors are very good about keeping their calendar updated on here, and some aren't. So always good to reach out and make sure that they're going to be available when you want to go fly with them. Squawks, again, opportunity to review the squawks for the plane. And not sure why you need to do this at this point, but you can upload some files here to the system for your reservation. But again, I haven't figured out why you'd want to do that on the front end here. So you have your details in, you hit save, and if everything checks out, you will have a reservation made. You should get an email confirming your reservation, and the day the flight comes, you're good to go fly. Again, same restrictions in this system as we have today for future reservations. No changes within 24 hours. If you do need to cancel or change your reservation the day of or 24 hours before, you need to reach out to one of the board members to help you make that happen. Similarly, if you want to make a multi-day reservation, schedule that with one of the board members, and they'll help you get that on the calendar. So the scheduling process is very simple. I think most people will be able to figure that out. It's not entirely different than we've been using in the past, but there are some new steps now that you have the plane scheduled that I want to make sure you're aware of. So number one, when you go to fly the plane, the day of, you need to actually dispatch the plane. So you can do that. I'd say the primary time you would do that is maybe after you get to the airport, before you go fly, as part of your pre-flight. You'll want to go in and hit the dispatch button. So I'd say this system does work well on your mobile phone. If you have an iPad, it works a little better than your mobile phone. And if that doesn't work for you, we do have a laptop in the office on the desk that you're you're able to use. It does belong to the EAA chapter, and there's actually another one in the conference room, but those are typically set up available for use. If you need to use one, the login code is 1942, same as the door, same as the gate. Just one code for you to do everything there around the hangar. So again, you have multiple ways you can do this as you're at the airport, and it's perfectly acceptable for you to maybe look into this dispatching before you leave your house as well. So the bottom line is we want you to review the information on the plane and make sure that everything's checking out before you go fly it. So you hit the dispatch button and you get this confirmation screen. First thing that you'd want to confirm, obviously, if you're not at the plane, this would be hard to confirm, but you want to make sure that the current tack time of the plane matches what's shown in the dispatch. So if it doesn't, you should note that. Will have the opportunity to put in the right number when you're done flying, but the only reason it shouldn't match is if the person before you did not check in their flight. I will show you one thing. If you need to write down any information, we are going to do away with the paper log in the book. However, we are going to add these a notepad with these flight sheets on there that you can use to keep track of this information until you can get done with your flight and write it down. So again, these will be in the plane. You will be able to use one to make notes on it if you need to. So another thing to review as you're dispatching, the maintenance. So you get a pass, which means nothing has expired. You can click there and you can actually see the information in terms of maintenance. Some of these things, even if they're expired, it will tell you, but they won't ground the plane. Some things will ground the plane if they're passed. So for instance, the annual inspection, it says non-grounding false. That means if that annual inspection is past due, then you won't be allowed to dispatch the flight because you will be flying illegally at that point. Another thing you can check is the squawks. Again, if there's any open squawks on the plane, you can check those. And then finally, if you have an account balance, it will show there. If you've been checked out in the plane, it will show there. But it certainly is possible that you have not been checked out in the plane, so it will have a warning here, but you're flying with an instructor, so that's perfectly acceptable. And then expiration dates, right? Making sure that your medical and your flight review are valid and that you're legal to fly. So again, these are things that you should be checking anyway before you fly, but this makes sure that you're following that process. So everything's checking out here. I'm going to go ahead and hit the dispatch button, and you'll see the reservation change to green, which means the plane's been dispatched. So at this point, you are through this process, and you are free to complete your pre-flight, pull the plane out, and take your flight as you normally would. I'll pause there for a second if any of you guys have any questions.
This is more of a, I guess, new pilot question rather than this particular system, but how did this, like I see that temp account on the left at 12:30, it looks like. It
Yep.
has margins built in on the front
Sure.
end, but it doesn't
Yep.
project up to the plane.
Yeah, so if say you're going to do some ground instruction with an instructor before or after the flight, when you go make a reservation, there's a box by the instructor's name that says pre-flight time and post-flight time. So that will schedule them longer than the actual plane.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Anything else?
When I do schedule a plane, let's say my reservation butts up directly against someone else's, is that just shouldn't do that, or does it have like a built-in margin?
You can butt up right against. So I'd say typically people leave themselves plenty of margin before and after the flight. So if somebody schedules a plane 2 hours, I'd say usually the longest they're actually going to fly is an hour. Sometimes people schedule 3 hours and they fly an hour plus, but there's typically plenty of margin around the starting and stopping time. But in any case, you're certainly expected to be back by the time your reservation ends, so the next person has access to the plane.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Hey, Brad,
Let's
like
say, yeah, go ahead, Bob.
A couple weeks ago, I was over and it was IFR. So I was able just to go instead of calling somebody or trying to get them to cancel that reservation because it wasn't going to clear. So
Yeah.
I just returned early. I noticed, and then it gave, let me close it out by saying I returned early.
Yeah. And that's fine. And certainly bad weather days, right? We know people aren't going to fly when it's bad weather. And when I saw you do that, Bob, I knew you were probably sitting at the hangar waiting for it to clear because it was kind of scattered and a little low and starting to break up, but it just never got there for you. But if you're
Yeah,
if you're doing that, if you're at the
yeah,
airport, certainly fine. If you just want to cancel it altogether before you drive down, just send one of us a note and we'll cancel it.
right. I've done that before.
Yeah, it's no big deal. It's a couple minutes for us to go in and hit the button. So certainly appreciate that if you can. Well, somebody else can ask a question? Okay. So the other feature is just like aircraft clubs, if the plane's scheduled, but you want to make a backup reservation, you can certainly do that as well. That way, if they cancel, you'll get that time slot. So it works the same way. You just set up your reservation. Except when you go to hit save, it will say plane is already taken. Do you want to make a backup reservation? And you say yes, I want to make a backup reservation. Just pretty much the same process as we have today. Okay, so now you've made your flight, you're back at the airport, you've pushed the plane back in the hangar, done everything you need to do. The next step is to check the plane in. So to do that, you come back in, you click on your reservation, you hit check in. Takes it a few seconds here to pull up the window for check in, but you'll see the screen here to check in. So um, again, as you dispatch the plane, you should have been checking the tack time. If that's different than what's listed here, you can override that, no problem. You can put in the tack time on the plane when you're getting back. So we'll just make up a number here. So 0.74 hours. You typically have the standard rate selected. If we do have the discount rate for people that help take out the trash or have done something in the month to do something to help the club, we go in and make it so you can select the discount rate. If that applies to you, you should have that available. If you think that should apply to you and it's not, just send me a note and we'll make sure it does. Even if you've checked in your flight, we can go change that after the fact. So if you think it's not correct, please speak up. We certainly want to recognize people that have done things to help and help your bill be a little bit lower if we can. So again, put in your time, select the rate. If you then you hit next. It does ask you to put in if you've added any oil. We didn't have to on this flight. If you added fuel, which you should have if you've flown, put in how much fuel. So say we put in 7.5 gallons. That's good there. If there's anything you want to add for a note, you can add that in. Say the attitude indicator quit in the middle of your flight. You're able to go in here and make a new squawk. No problem, then that'll show up on the list. And again, you can attach files. This may be useful. Say you bought, say you flew to Indianapolis International and you had to buy fuel that was $7.50 a gallon. You can upload that receipt here. That way we know we need to go in and add some adjustment to your bill to account for that extra fuel charge. So again, if that, something like that comes up, you can certainly attach it here. If you don't want to mess with that, leave that in the logbook. That'd be perfectly fine as well. But again, the feature is here if you choose to use it. So you've been through those steps. So again, you entered your time, you enter your amount of oil, you entered the fuel you've added, you've entered notes or squawks as appropriate. You hit next. The next screen shows you that this flight is going to be added to your account based on the rate. There's what that flight cost you. Again, if you're paying by a credit card, then it says it will add a 3% charge. That won't add it at this time. It won't do that until you actually pay. And then you can select how you want to approach that charge. I'd say majority of the time people are going to say just pay later, put it on my account. That's what we've been doing for the past 4 years. It's worked fine. But if you do want to just pay as you go, you're able to select a payment method, and that will immediately reconcile the charge. You do this, you should get an email, a receipt. I'm going to turn that feature off so I don't get one in my inbox. I'll hit finish, and we see the receipt for this flight. So that's the check-in process. In the dispatch process, I will say these new dispatch and check-in processes are going to be required as of Friday. If anybody has any issue, please feel free to reach out to me. Again, we're going to have the notepads in the plane that you can write the information down if you need to, but you don't have to fill out the paper logbook any longer as you fly. It's all going to be done electronic. So I will say we've been pushing the electronic thing for a couple of years, and it's been sporadic. When things haven't been entered, it's very easy for maintenance to get missed. If things go for a week and no time's entered, we might put 15 or 20 hours on the plane, right? And it's very easy to miss an oil change. That's one of the drivers for doing this and making this required. We are going to go one step further, right? If you don't check your plane in within 24 hours, we're probably going to come looking for you to get the information. And if we have to go through all that, then we will add a $5 fee to your bill to do that. Hopefully we don't have to do that. It's hopefully more a deterrent for people to not forget to do that. But again, we want people to go through and check in the plane as appropriate, so we don't have to come looking for the time, and we don't have to make a trip to the airport to check all the logs and make sure we're all current, right? That's the driver here, not collecting more money. Not supposed to be a way to increase our revenue. But if we do get some, we will find something useful to do with it, whether it's buy some refreshments for a meeting or donate it to a good cause or something, right? We'll make sure it doesn't go to waste, but hopefully we don't have to do that. So before I go to the final step, do you have any questions on dispatch or check-in?
How accurate do we have to be with the fuel reporting on here?
So when you're done flying, Danny, I know you haven't done it yet, but one of the things is every time you fly, you need to fill the plane back up. On the 172, you fill it to the top. On the 182, we keep it at 50 gallons because it'll hold a lot of fuel that you don't need all the time.
Okay.
So you'll get a receipt from the pump, and you can just put in the amount that it says on the receipt. If you don't get a receipt, they have a screen there, and you can put in that number. So it's to 100th of a gallon. So I just put in whatever it says there. And if you've been out for a 4 or 5 hour trip and you have multiple receipts, just tally it together into one number and put it in there.
Okay, perfect.
It's just good for us to track how much we're using on an hourly basis, because that does affect what we charge for the aircraft.
Gotcha.
Any other questions? Okay, so I did want to circle back to my account real quick. So when you remember when we started, we didn't have anything on our ledger. Now that we've actually made a flight and we've checked it in, we do have a charge showing up on our account. There will be other things show up on here. So the first of the month, dues will be applied to your account. That is automated now, so it doesn't take our treasurer manually going in and making invoices for that. So that will show up after the first. If you're one that's still doing the equity increase, $50 a month, that will show up automatically. For those that have participated in the loan program where we're giving you interest credits, that is not automatic. That is something we have to go in and do manually. I've been asking Flight Circle if they can make a automated credit, just like you can make an automated debit, and we'll see if they get there. But again, we will add that the first couple of days of the month for you, and then following that, we'll hit the billing button, and it will actually send you an email with a summary of all the charges on your account and ask you to make a payment. So again, you don't have to pay as you go. You can continue to make a monthly payment as you're doing today. We do ask that you just keep up with it. And the good thing for everybody, in my opinion, you can see your history, right? You can see exactly how much you've flown in a month. and you'll be able to look back. If you go in your account now, you should see all your charges from September. We have everything synced from September 1. So we will be using this system for billing starting October. So again, I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve on all this, and there might be some hiccups or bugs we find. Just reach out to me. We'll get them corrected. I've been very impressed with the responsiveness of Flight Circle, especially considering, they're getting $20 a month from us, right? And when we've ran into issues or questions, I send them an email and I get a response within an hour. So pretty incredible service for basically, they're working for peanuts from us. They're more of I'm sure they're looking at volume and trying to get a lot of business to keep their income going. So again, if you have issues or if you have things that would be nice to see added, put them out there and we'll put them in front of them, see if they want to do it. Because I guarantee if we're asking for something, they have other FBOs and flying clubs that are asking for the same thing. So we're not doing anything unique or new in terms of what we're doing with our club. So again, let me know if you have issues, if you have problems, or you have questions or things that we can make better for you. You have any questions overall?
What was the loan thing you mentioned?
Yeah. So let's finish Flight Circle here, Danny, and then I'll stop the recording and we can talk about the loans.
Okay.
Does that work for you? Any other questions on Flight Circle or any other feedback?
No, this seems pretty darn straightforward.
Yep, it's a very simple system, but I wanted to make sure people see the new thing, right? The dispatch and check-in are going to take some time to get used to. So we haven't been doing that, and I want to make sure people can see that firsthand. And I know we didn't have great attendance tonight, but that's why we recorded it so people can hopefully look back and take a look at it. Okay, let me see if I can stop this.